Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Sports Exchange. My name is Scott Morgan, the Motor City Madmouth, and alongside of me tonight in his normal Thursday spot, Mel Farr. How you doing, buddy?
I'm great. How about yourself?
I'm doing real good. Thanks for asking. Xavier McKnight, he's back. How you doing?
Doing great, guys. As always, it's great to be on to the Sports Exchange. Great to be on with you guys tonight, and I hope everybody's ready for what we're dishing out in the kitchen. We have some gourmet dishes that we're going to be dishing out to everyone tonight.
Yeah, right now, leading off, one of the, I don't know if we call them the appetizer of the main course, but what about Jamal Adams trade to Seattle? You surprised to see that trade transpire? He forced his hand out of the New York Jets.
No, I am not surprised at all.
I'm not either. I mean, they didn't want to pay him. And then after what he said, he kind of, regardless of what the general manager said, that the trade was probably in the works. That would probably just try to put the camel's back.
I gotta give the Jets credit, though. They did get a decent haul for it by being able to go out there and at least get a couple of first rounders and another pick to go along with it. So it wasn't a bad return for him, was it?
No, it definitely wasn't at all. I'd actually like to go ahead and read off the statement that Jamal Adams said to a member of the New York Daily News that ultimately led to the New York Jets having to ship him out of town. He said, and I quote, "I don't feel like he, meaning Adam Gase, is the right leader for this organization to reach the promised land. As a leader, what really bothers me is that he doesn't have a relationship with everybody in the building. At the end of the day, he doesn't address the team. If there's a problem in the locker room, he lets another coach address the team. If we're playing bleep and we're losing, he doesn't address the entire team as a group at halftime. He'll walk out of the locker room and let another coach handle it. Whether he was right in what he said as far as being accurate about it or whether he's wrong, you can't say that about your head coach. And he had already been publicly campaigning to get himself pushed out of town, preferably to his hometown team that he grew up rooting for, the Dallas Cowboys. But you knew that the New York Jets were going to have to make a move. You can't keep that guy in the locker room. I'm not saying that the Jets are going to have a better record this season now that they don't have the distraction of Jamal Adams in the locker room. And no matter what people want to say about this was a distraction. He might just be a safety, and many people want to look past and they want to say, well, if this was the quarterback or if this was the middle linebacker, this would be different. No. He's a safety, but he's arguably the best safety in the NFL right now, and he was a captain and a leader on that team. And many of those guys will flock towards him. And this is the type of thing that splits locker rooms in half. So they had to definitely get him out of there. Do I believe Adam Gase is the right man for the job for the New York Jets? I don't know. I can't judge him based off of last season there, and I can't really judge him based off his tenure with the Miami Dolphins either, because Chris Greer was not the general manager running the team there. So for most of his career, he's been surrounded around nothing but chaos and dysfunction. So maybe if the Jets can get going in a different direction as far as a better run organization, and I do believe that Joe Douglas is in the position to get them back going on the right track. I believe that we will continue to see a better job being done here by Adam Gase. Look, it's to be noted that he has a 30-34 record as a head coach. Kyle Shanahan, who many people say is the best young head coach in the NFL, is 23-25. And he is surrounded around John Lynch, great general manager, future Hall of Fame player, if he's not already in the Hall of Fame, very smart guy, former broadcaster. And from what I've been told about John Lynch, he's one of the most likable guys in the NFL. And he has the 49ers organization and the 49ers structure. They had a rough bump there in the few years after Jim Harbaugh had left, with Jim Tomsula being the head coach there for about a year. But for the most part, the 49ers are pretty well run. And he has a below 500 record too. If it wasn't for last season's breakout year, we wouldn't even look at Kyle Shanahan the same. So I'm not sure exactly if we should judge Adam Gase based off of his record just yet through what he has gone through with Miami and with the Jets. And it also should be noted that one of those seasons he was in Miami, he did lead the Dolphins back to the playoffs. And this was just after Ryan Tannehill was injured and Matt Moore had to start at quarterback in a playoff wildcard game against Pittsburgh Steelers. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Scott, this happened during the 2017 NFL season.
Yeah, that's true. Well, one thing I will point out, and you guys are really pointing around about the whole thing, but when you talk about a toxic, cancerous locker room, you cannot have that in any way, shape, or form. And I know that's what you're referring to. I'll judge Adam Gase's tenure as being successful if he can develop Sam Darnold. What do you think, Mel? What are your thoughts about the whole situation with Adams?
Well, and going back to the coach, I mean, you have to be a leader of men. And regardless of the front office, and I know that plays a big part into the success of a coach, but, I don't quite remember, what his relationship was like with his players in Miami. But even with whatever front office was in place, he made that decision to go there. He thought that was a good decision for himself at that particular time in his career. He didn't have to go there. So I don't say, well, we can't judge him based on what he did in Miami, because the front office is different now versus what it was back then. Yeah, he knew what he was getting himself into at that particular time. Is every coach going to be a Bill Belichick? No, they're not. Are some coaches going to be an Andy Reid? Possibly. There's probably a lot more coaches that will be more like Andy Reid than Bill Belichick, but now Andy Reid has finally gotten over that hump. He's always been an outstanding coach, but he just never had that Super Bowl. Maybe Adam Gase becomes one of those. I don't know. But the one thing that you have to do is you have to be a leader of men, and you have to be able to communicate with your men and get your message across to your men. And if you're not able to do that, you're not going to be an effective leader. And Jamal Adams said it, but there's probably a lot of guys in that locker room that feel the same way that he did. So the locker room is already divided. The locker room is already split. Just as some of the players don't have the stature in the league, in the locker room or in the league, to be able to say what Jamal Adams said out loud. A lot of them feel that way. He just spoke it. So we'll see what happens with it. Obviously, every head coach's job is directly tied to the production of their quarterback. It's a quarterback-driven league. If you don't have a capable quarterback, it's very difficult to succeed in the NFL. And so obviously his success is going to be directly tied to the development of Sam Darnold and how he develops, how quickly he develops. Here we're going to I think it is year 3, it might be year 4 of Sam Darnold, year 4 of Sam Darnold. I can't remember exactly what year, but yeah. So Sam Darnold has to make a huge jump in order for that team to be successful. He has to play very, very well for that team to be successful.
Well, there's no question, right, Mel, that you're right, that Jamal Adams has a pedigree more than any of those players, being one of the best teams. So I'll give you that for sure. That as long as you have the pedigree, you can definitely be outspoken. And if your play speaks for itself, then he has two things working for him. So I'm definitely agree there. But so let's forget about Adams and with the Jets. What kind of a player do you think he's going to be in Seattle?
I think that they're going to put him in a position to succeed. I mean, that's one thing that Pete Carroll is known for. The defenses. Guy went to high school. Guy played with the college. He's a defensive coordinator there, Ken Norton Jr. I think that I think they're looking forward to what they can do with him positionally to make their defense, what it was at one particular time. The Legion of Boom. They're trying to get back there. They got great linebackers. They got a corner in one of the Griffin brothers, and now they're looking for somebody to replace Earl Thomas, and they have that type of player, that type of physical type of player who can play in the box and who can also play in space. Obviously, he's probably better playing in the box against the run and also rushing the passer, getting sacks of that nature. He's very disruptive. He creates turnovers. And, a lot of, he's had turnovers that turn into points, whether he turned them into points himself or the defenses or the offense is able to cash in. So I think they're probably very excited about what they can do with him in their defense.
Yeah, I know that Adams has gone on record saying he's not worried about a contract extension now. He knows about the COVID-19. He knows that the salary cap could definitely change next year. It might be a little bit lower depending on COVID-19. But at this particular point, the guy's right. I'm not going to worry about my contract. I finally ended up moving to a contending team with a winning culture. So, at least he's happy with the fresh start for sure. So, with that said, let's move on to the next thing. And I have a feeling that the next topic actually developed in your hometown, Mel, Atlanta. The Miami Marlins weren't too responsible in Georgia, and as a result, now their season's been put on hold until next Tuesday. The updated count for COVID-19 is up to 17 players and 2 coaches. What are your thoughts about the Miami Marlins? That they definitely have turned the MLB season upside down. They would take 2 of 3 in Philadelphia, and they haven't played since.
Yeah, and we've talked about this topic quite a bit, this COVID-19 and how the different leagues are going to be able to manage it. And we're seeing right now that obviously the Miami Marlins are having a very, very difficult time managing it. Now, the only thing I guess you could say is all the players, they contract the virus and they're able to resolve and get well and go out there and compete and hopefully finish out the rest of the season. But again, this thing jumps from clubhouse to clubhouse, and they can manage everything that goes on in the clubhouse and the players are there in the facility. The problem is these guys got to be responsible once they leave the facility, and that's where you have the problem. That's why the NBA has the best chance of finishing out the season. They're just trying to finish the season, where everybody else is trying to start a season and then have it. In the football, National Football League, they're trying to have an entire 16-game schedule. Major League Baseball obviously has a shortened schedule, but they're trying to complete the schedule. And I'm sure they're going to do whatever it is that they absolutely can to try to get it in, to get the season in. But it's going to be very difficult. It's going to be with tremendous amount of challenges. And I'm interested to see how now you're already seeing teams reporting to NFL training camps. I just saw the Buffalo Bills that said, they're rookies home because 5 guys tested positive for COVID. So it's going to be a different, we're living in different times right now, and obviously it's going to be very different fall this year with COVID-19.
Go ahead, Xavier.
Well, with the Miami Marlins situation, it should be noted that this also did affect the New York Yankees and the Philadelphia Phillies 2 games earlier this week on Monday and Tuesday. Now, those 2 teams did get back into gameplay action on yesterday, but the Philadelphia Phillies were coming off of an opening weekend series with the Miami Marlins, and we learned towards the end of that weekend series last Sunday that they had multiple players and coaches that tested positive for COVID-19. And yes, as Mel said, it doesn't appear that they have a great handle on the situation as of now. And unless Florida is hit by a tropical storm within the next few days, because that situation is looming out there as well, the Miami Marlins could return to gameplay at home on Sunday.
Well, no,
on Tuesday,
actually, I heard it's Tuesday.
They had gameplay suspended all the way up until the weekend so they could try to get a handle on this situation.
Yeah,
But
Xavier.
the unfortunate part about this is
Xavier.
this is only the beginning of this.
Sorry about this. I have to give you an update. I don't think the Marlins are planning to play at the earliest until Tuesday. Those are my most recent reports. Just letting you know. Didn't mean to step in.
Thank you for that.
But I just want to make sure that you got that. So it looks like Tuesday at the earliest. So go ahead, continue on now.
Thank you for that.
No problem.
And as I said, the unfortunate part about this is only the beginning of it for the MLB. And hopefully they can get this thing contained, but it's not really looking good right now. I don't know how much more I expect to see as far as baseball gameplay to go before they have to put a halt on the season because this thing gets out of control again.
Well, I'm going to maintain one position I've maintained for the longest time. On Tuesday's edition of the Sports Exchange, I had Andy Caston on along with Mike Santos. And just so you know a little bit about the NHL, which I still think is the one league that will see it to the end, is that the NHL announces that there were 0 positive tests as players report to the hubs. Out of 4,256 COVID tests from July 18th through the 25th, with over 800 players, there were 0 positive tests with 24 teams. I don't know about you guys, but that's awfully good. If I were a bet man, I'm betting on the NHL.
Yeah, I mean, that's good news. I mean, there's no question about it. Obviously, whatever they've done, whatever they put in place for the players is obviously working. No different than what's going on with the NBA. I mean, they've been testing the players too, and they haven't had any positive tests either. So what they're doing, I mean, you can control this thing. You can get these guys in a bubble, and you control that bubble. You control the players' movement. The problem is when you're unable to control the players' movement, and, you know, they're away from their families, too, which is big as well, because you can't control what people's families do as well. So, you know, they have a much better chance of succeeding than obviously, you know, football and baseball.
Well, I don't think baseball ever could handle a bubble. We know the NFL can, but the NHL's in Canada. And let's not lose sight of the fact that the reason why the Blue Jays were not permitted to play in Canada and they had to find a U.S. base this year is because they feared exactly what's taking place. They don't want the spread in Canada. So in hindsight, Toronto looks like a genius for saying no to the Jays. But the NHL bubble in Canada, to me, is definitely the thing that seems to be working out, and it's working out awful well so far. So
yeah, I mean, let's see how we've responded to the COVID pandemic here in the United States. We haven't done very well, and right. Why would they risk putting their citizens, risk their citizens' lives by allowing not only having the Blue Jays come there, but you're having teams come in and out of there from different parts of this country here, and we've got our own set of problems here that we have a very, very difficult time dealing with. And you see right now, with the Florida team, with Miami, and what's going on there with 19 guys testing positive for COVID. I mean, this thing can get out of hand real quickly. So what they're just trying to do, they're trying to protect their citizens, which is smart.
Well, Derek Jeter's the front man here, obviously knows that he's had to issue 2 statements in 1 week. Number one, knowing that this team has to get it figured out real quick. And we all know that there will be an odd amount of games here, so they're going to probably base everything on winning percentage. Although, I guess you could say at one point they were talking about a 48-game schedule. So you're going to have an odd number of games with all these teams to begin with. So Derek Jeter's been the one who's been the front man, and he has a thankless job. And if there's anybody I've ever felt bad for, honestly, it's Don Mattingly. He's a manager, and one would think he can't babysit these guys. You can only tell them and stress the importance of what he's got to do. And as a result, they're still in the predicament that they're in.
Yeah, I mean, it's out of his control. This is one of those, all he can control is what he can control.
Right.
And this is one of those things that's out of his control. And there's only so much that he can do.
Right.
And some of it's player responsibility, but then another part of it is the region of the country they're living in right now.
Right.
So, but they're going to the grocery store, doing whatever they're doing, and their families are going to the grocery store or doing whatever. I mean, it's just, there's a lot of moving pieces there. There's a lot of variables involved that make it very, very difficult for him to control anything other than what he can control.
Go ahead, Xavier. You got something to say? Add?
Yes. Well, Scott and Mel, we do have an update that has come in from the Miami Herald. Yeah. It says that a Philadelphia Phillies coach and home clubhouse staffer have tested positive for COVID-19. This announcement came out today. And the Phillies coach, he is the first known positive test among on-field personnel outside of the Marlins organization to test positive since Friday of last week. So as a result of this, the Philadelphia Phillies have canceled workouts at Citizens Bank Park that were scheduled for today. And in light of these new positive tests, they have announced that the ballpark will remain closed until further notice. So what that means is that the Phillies series against the Toronto Blue Jays that was scheduled for this weekend has been postponed. And ESPN is also reporting that the MLB is investigating. And Scott, I didn't know if you were going to go ahead and get into this, but I'll go ahead and I'll touch on it now.
Sure.
They are investigating the behavior of Miami Marlins while they were in Atlanta for a pair of exhibition games before the start of the regular season last week, where ESPN says that the MLB's investigation into the outbreak includes exploring a possible speculation by a USA Today writer that Marlins players might have left the team hotel at night while they were in Atlanta for a pair of exhibition games right before arriving in Philadelphia.
Yeah,
now, when asked about this, a Marlins team spokesperson said that the MLB and the Marlins are trying to make sure that everyone has as many facts as possible. And of course, that's what you want to do in a situation like this.
Yeah, the writer that you're referring to is Bob Nightingale, and I did hear that story, which is why I thought that the Marlins issues developed in Atlanta. So from what I have heard, that everything you're telling me is extremely consistent. So it all comes back to the fact that they have to follow protocols. And now I think MLB is tightening up the protocols where they're going to have a compliance officer on the airplane and they have to wear surgical masks. So, I'll tell you what, to say that MLB is learning on the fly, pun intended, with an airplane is mildly stating the obvious. So, yeah, I'm very well aware of it. But thanks for bringing it to our attention. By all means. Yeah, no.
For sure. And this news, this update, once again, this goes back to something I just said. This is not necessarily the most encouraging news for Major League Baseball.
No, not at all. And you begin to wonder that, and you know what? We haven't even gotten into our first week of play, and look what's going on. But they're still playing some games, and I think it's a learning process. The question is, how long will that learning process is? And then we'll and as we move on to the NFL part of this whole thing a little bit, it's going to be a struggle for these two leagues. Like Mel said, the leagues that have started up are the ones that are going to be in serious question, much less the collegiate ranks, which I haven't heard a whole lot about yet. They're all, except for the fact that they're downsizing their schedule at conference play. But we'll get into that. So, yeah, I did hear that, but thanks for bringing it up, Xavier. It's pertinent to what we're discussing right now. Want to add to it, Mel?
No, I'm sorry. I missed the last part of what you said. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. No problem. Do you want to add to what Xavier is saying about everything taking place out in Atlanta, that MLB is learning on the fly? And it is a work in progress. Again, last week we were all excited about opening weekend, and all of a sudden, what a difference 7 days makes, doesn't it? Everybody's going to be at an odd number of games. You're going to have postponements here that will mess up the schedule. Now there's talk of 7-inning doubleheaders to make up these games. And, again, we're still waiting for the Jays to land in Buffalo. So there's a lot of moving parts.
There's a lot of moving parts. It's, it's unfortunate. It's going to be very, very, very difficult when you're dealing with the number of players that you're talking about dealing with, plus the support staff. What they're doing is it's wishful thinking, to be honest with you. Guys are going to get sick. It's a matter of how many and how serious it is, how serious their symptoms are, and how quickly they're going to be able to resolve. So, I guess if they can't get it twice, which we don't know if people can or cannot get it twice, getting it now, getting it out the way, gives them a great chance to be able to finish the rest of the year and not have to worry about it. And if you develop some sort of antibodies toward it, so that if you're playing a team and they all of a sudden get infected, and you're playing against them, that you don't have to worry about it going back into your locker room. There's a lot of things that we just don't know about this virus. You would think that, okay, hey, you got 19 guys that got it right now. The rest of the year seems like, as long as they're not able to get it again, it's inconvenient right now. But as long as they're not able to contract it again, then Miami has a good opportunity to complete the season. Because so many people have already, will have resolved and hopefully developed antibodies and they'll have that immunity towards this virus. But again, there's so many things that we don't know about this virus.
Well, it kind of reminds me a little bit of the chicken pox. Once you get it, you don't think you're going to get it. You're not supposed to get it back, but this is a far more serious situation because it could linger on the rest of your life, so you don't know what the after effects are going to be down the road. But, it does remind me a little of the chicken pox. If you get it once, you're done with it. I don't know if anybody's brought it up in that context because we're still in the exploratory stage, but still, 19 cases for the Marlins. That adds up to self-destruction. During the course of the week, they've had to fill out their roster with players that were released. I think they picked up a couple guys from the Reds. I believe somebody from the Brewers. I don't know exactly sure. I don't have the transaction list. But they're trying to field a competitive team where there's competitive balance. And to make things even more interesting, Miguel Rojas, who I was on a Zoom call with the rest of our media here, they were determined to play that game. And all of a sudden, he's one of the guys that turned out positive on this. And there was never any thought that they were going to go ahead and not play that game. So, like I said, it's amazing. 19 players, and it's a story that, for anybody but the Marlins, people take it more seriously. But unfortunately, the Marlins' reputation over the years for being a losing franchise, in many cases, a laughing stock around MLB with the way they've conducted business, makes them an afterthought. But if this were to happen to the Yankees, the Cubs, the Red Sox, the Dodgers, wonder whether MLB would be panic-stricken about any of those teams. Would you agree?
Well, I'm sure they would be. But I think that those teams are probably, because they know they have a real opportunity here to win a World Series championship. I think they're probably approaching the season a little bit differently those players are versus how the Miami Marlins players are approaching the season.
Go ahead, Xavier.
The players.
I definitely agree with that statement as well, Scott, and I'm going to go back to something that I've been saying for months here. This is why I have been a huge proponent of the league not returning to gameplay. Mel said it earlier, and I'll go ahead and reiterate this point. Our current national administration has not done a great job as far as a response to this virus, because if they had done that, we would have had this thing a little more contained by now, and I would have felt better about leagues possibly returning to play. It has nothing to do with us wanting to be entertained. We can forget that for right now. And I understand that leagues and television networks have money to make, but now is the time where you put health, safety, and well-being above any and all things. And I'll continue to reiterate this point, and we're already starting to see some type of effect of this in the NFL go on right now, not with players necessarily testing positive for COVID, but with players opting out to not play in the 2020 season because of COVID-19 concerns. I've said all along, the MLB and the NBA will determine if we have football in the fall, and I continue to stand by that.
And me too. I agree. What about you, Mel?
Yeah, I definitely agree. But I mean, I think, owners, they all have egos, and they're going to do whatever they possibly can to try to field this season, try to make this season happen, because everything is about money. It doesn't have anything to do with players' safety or health or anything. It's all about money. And they're going to do whatever they possibly can to try to play this season because of the money. That's the only thing it's about. Like Xavier was saying, we had not got, Scott, when you and I first started talking about this thing, and I didn't think that we'd be here in July still having the same conversations now that we had back in March and April.
Oh, yeah.
I really thought come fall time, we'd have our arms wrapped around this because we're in the United States. I mean, we figure stuff out. That we have this thing figured out and life will be normal. Come September, we'd all be looking forward to going to high school football games, college games, NFL games, baseball games, whatever it is that we normally do. We'd all be getting back to our normal lives. But here we are at the end of July. Next week is August, and we're still having the same conversation.
Yeah, you know what, Mel? I'm a agreement with you 1,000%. I thought we would have had it licked. Far from it. Let's go on to the next topic. First day of the NBA.
Well, Scott, before you do that, we do have an update from the MLB that I just received as a notification just 1 minute ago.
Okay.
According to Jeff Passan, the MLB and the MLB Players Association have officially agreed to 7-inning doubleheaders that will be starting on August the 1st.
Okay.
So it's official.
Well, then I guess my sources were pretty good, weren't they?
Yes.
Yeah, I had a feeling that they were talking 7-inning double. They've got to somehow play 60 games or at least close to it. So 7-inning doubleheaders, if that's what it takes to keep the season. Again, you're talking about a league that's experimenting with everything on the planet anyways. Why not throw 7-inning doubleheaders so you don't wear out the pitchers? That's a good move. I think it is. You throw everything out the window. It doesn't make any difference. So I'm glad that we're on. Hey, listen, Mel, we're on top of this stuff, aren't we?
Sure are. No question about it.
Yeah, I spent a lot of my time researching a lot of this stuff, and there's no question that this is something I suspected all along. So with that said, okay, thanks for the update, Xavier. Appreciate it. We have a lot of ongoing story developments for sure. And here's the latest, 7-inning MLB doubleheaders. With that said, we'll go to Xavier's favorite sport, the first day of the NBA's return. All right, Xavier, take it away.
Well, yes, we have some exciting action going on right now between the New Orleans Pelicans and the Utah Jazz. The Pelicans currently up 65-60 with 8:06 remaining in the third quarter. We have another game that's coming on tonight as a part of a TNT doubleheader. The Clippers and the Lakers. Kawhi Leonard and Paul George are both healthy to play. LeBron James will play, and we have just learned that Frank Vogel, Lakers head coach, said that Anthony Davis will start tonight. There were questions about him coming into this game due to an eye injury that he suffered in one of the team's 3 scrimmages. But he is said to be good to go ahead and start up play tonight. And as cautious as I am about everything that's going on right now, guys, I will say this. It is very refreshing to see sports back on TV as far as new games that we are watching. Because, yes, it's nice sometimes to be reminded of classics from 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 years ago and even further back from then. But eventually you get tired of the reruns. You get tired of the reruns of the games. You get tired of the reruns of TV shows, movies, all these other things. Eventually you want to see something new. And it's honestly very refreshing right now to have the NBA back tonight. We got the MLB back last week, and we're hopeful that they can continue gameplay in some type of way. And we're hopeful that the NFL and college football can get going pretty soon as well.
Well, don't lose sight of the fact the NHL's starting this weekend, too, up in Canada. Why does everybody forget about my sport, the NHL, Frozen Pond? Hello, it does exist. Oh, Canada. Does anybody realize, oh, Canada, being born in Detroit here, Mel can know. Hey, what about Windsor? Aren't they our friends, Mel? Really?
Yeah, I played a little hockey in my day growing up.
That a boy. There you go. I got a Panthers jersey. I should say this because I couldn't get a Red Wings jersey in these parts. I was actually contemplating a hockey return, but my doctor said, Of course, it didn't hurt that I ended up having 2 shoulder surgeries, a neck operation, and at least I had that jersey kindly hanging up in a very nice, safe place here in Coral Springs, that's for sure. So, but at any rate, yeah, I'm telling you, forget about the NHL. It's played on Frozen Pond. It's back in my second home in Canada, yes. All right, that's
we're very excited about
football.
What's that?
We're excited about it, but the big money sports are football and basketball.
I know that, Mel.
Those are the sports we talk about.
Hey, Mel, I'm trying to give my NHL guys a little bit of love. So I think you can appreciate that, right? The Detroit Red Wings haven't embarrassed us, have they? The Lions may be bad, right?
You gave them their love.
That's right. The Lions haven't. Maybe they've embarrassed us, but the Red Wings have given us something to cheer about, right, Mel? 25 years in the playoffs in a row, not a bad run, is it?
Yes, they have. No question about it.
They may not be a big money sport. I'll tell you what, they've come a long way under Gary Bettman, though, haven't they? From a league that went ahead and had to buy their airtime to one that's actually getting paid and on NBC. They're relevant. But yeah, you're right. The other sports are big. But got to give my NHL some love. Okay. With that said, go on.
Well, one thing I'd like to bring up with the Clippers really quickly, if I may, is that it is notable that they will be missing some key players tonight. Yes, they do have Kawhi Leonard and Paul George who are healthy and ready to go, but it has not been confirmed that Patrick Beverley will play tonight. Landry Shamet may not play tonight. Montrezl Harrell is still out as he is attending to a family matter. He may be back in the bubble, but he is not set for gameplay tonight. And of course, Lou Williams is serving a 10-day quarantine. I don't want to call it a suspension, but it feels like it could possibly be a suspension for his actions of what he did in Atlanta last week. And I'll go ahead and get into the specifics of that now, if I may.
Sure.
Lou Williams left the bubble when the team originally started back up with its scrimmages. He did play in the first scrimmage that the team played in, but he left the bubble due to a family emergency. There were early reports saying that his grandfather had passed away. Then other reports came out that it was someone else who passed away, maybe the father of a very close friend. I can't confirm who the person was that passed away because there are speculatory reports out there. So, of course, he was given a notice that, yes, go ahead, go attend the service, go view the body, do what you have to do, and come back. Well, there was some other activity that took place while Lou Williams was on his visit in Atlanta, in the Atlanta area. Hours after the funeral service had concluded or the viewing of the body had concluded, Lou Williams decided to go to the Magic City strip club in Atlanta to have some wings. I don't know which wings he had. He does have wings there at the club that are named after him, but it said that he only went to the club to go get some wings because he was hungry. He did not go there to participate in other activities, and I'm not going to speculate on that.
Right.
And although I do not agree with Lou Williams going to the club, there is something that I do want to ask Mel. And Scott, I don't know if you've ever been to Magic City in Atlanta or not, but I'll get into my question.
Not my style, Xavier, to be honest with you. When I go to have wings out in Orlando, I have them at Hooters, but I guess he's not a Hooters fan. Go ahead.
Well, see, the thing is, I don't know exactly how they're eating in the bubble. I've heard many reports out there that the food in the bubble is not exactly what the players were expecting it to be. It's not what they were promised. Many of the players have complained about the food. Now, the superstars who are down there, the LeBrons and the Giannis and the Kawhi Leonards, haven't heard anything about them complaining about the food. But we've heard other reports about other players complaining about the food. So I don't know if this is why Lou Williams may have done this, or maybe he just wanted to stop by and get some wings. Now, like I said, I'm not in agreement with Lou Williams going to the club and getting some wings. It's just not a good look. You know that by you having your own wings on the menu, you're probably a fixture in the club anyway when you're back in the area, because he is from the Atlanta area, Snellville and Gwinnett County to be particular. That is a part of the metro Atlanta area. So he's probably a well-known person in the nightclub anyway. But it's not a good look. If anything, you should have had these curbside delivered to you, or have someone go pick up the wings for you. And that way we probably would have never even known about this. And the only reason I feel that the NBA learned about this in the first place is because a rapper, I'm not sure what his name is, but he took a picture with Lou Williams and he posted it on social media, and he immediately took it down. But he said that the picture was old, but we learned, of course, that the picture was not old because Lou Williams had on his mask that he had been wearing while he was in the NBA bubble too. So it's a pretty messy story there all the way around. But the question I want to get into, Mel, is this. You are in the Atlanta area, correct?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Are you a fan of chicken wings?
I mean, I eat chicken wings, but I eat chicken wings, but there's better places. I haven't been to Magic City in decades. I don't know what their wings are like, but that's not what they're known for. They're not known for the chicken wings.
No, they are not, and that leads me into my question that I was actually going to ask you, and I'm still going to ask it because you already slightly took me there with it. I've been to Magic City. I've had their wings before. The wings are good, but I don't believe they're the best wings in Atlanta either. People who I know who are actually from Atlanta too, not Metro Atlanta, but actual Atlanta, I haven't heard them say things like, these are the best wings in Atlanta. No. I hear about places like ATL Wings or Atlanta's Best Wings or places like that. Very similar to the hole-in-the-wall shack type of restaurants where you can find really good food. There's good service, there's good food, but some people may not necessarily know about those places because they're not the standalone 5-star gourmet type of places and fashionable buildings. But I've had a combination of some of all these wings, and I'm here to tell you, Scott and Mel, I've had better wings from Atlanta's Best Wings and ATL Wings and some of the other wing places in Atlanta than Magic City. Sorry.
Well, from my standpoint, I prefer Hooters or Duffy's here in South Florida, okay? And if he went there for the wings, okay, where you're telling me, okay, I would rather rebroadcast our shows, capital punishment, child abuse, and anti-Semitism, rather than talk about Lou Williams doing something outright stupid. But that's just my opinion. But that, yeah, and Mel, you know what? I love your sense of humor, how you went all out there and, you know, try to be nice about what they're not known for and what they're not known for. Because we all know full well that strip clubs are known for free food, good food, because you're there to pay the entertainers. You know what I mean? And it takes a guy at arguably the worst possible time during COVID-19 to make a move like this. Now, for all these poor NBA players that are complaining about the food in the bubble, sorry, you're not getting any sympathy from me. A lot of people don't have food on the table. Okay, so I don't want to hear about all 9 million things that you don't like. The reality of the situation is you're getting paid to play. There's a championship on there to be taken. And to me, it's absolutely stupid. I realize we have to bring it up. I get it. I'm okay with it. Okay. But to me, this is just outright stupid. And I hope a lot of these other players, okay, don't do anything to stretch the envelope, because if they stretch the envelope and there's any semblance that this bubble can burst, let's go back to the Chinese basketball league. They can shut this thing down really quickly. And this great bubble that they have assembled can burst at any time. So that's what I think about the whole thing. Lou Williams, really? Okay, that's all I have to say about Lou.
It was a selfish act.
What's that?
He moved on. It was a selfish act, a very selfish act.
Right.
And he moved on up to it and apologize and move on, learn from that mistake. But that's something that he was given permission to go from A to B, and he went from A to C to B. She just went A to B. Went there, went back home, and get back with his teammates and try to unsuccessfully win a championship this year, because the Lakers are going to win.
I understand the family situation. I get it. I have compassion for that, but I don't understand the chicken wing fiasco.
Supposedly he said there was no entertainers in there. So I don't know, because like I said, I haven't frequented one of them kind of places in a long time, so I have no clue if that's true or not. But supposedly there's no entertainers. I can't say if that's true or not.
I don't know either. All I know is you shouldn't be in restaurants and you shouldn't be in bars at times like this, or minimize where you go. I just call it one word, boneheaded. But I don't know. I've never been there, so I can't comment about what's inside those four walls.
You have to consider the source. Lou Williams, I don't know if this is still the case, but one time he had 2 girlfriends. So, anybody that's got 2 girlfriends, you can't, one is hard enough. Trying to manage 2 is, that's impossible. I take my hat off to him in one respect, but at the same time, obviously, his elevator is not going all the way up to the top if he thinks he can manage 2 women.
Now, if you're in Utah and you're a Mormon and you got 9 million wives, it's another story. But in normal circumstances, I've been to Utah, by the way, Salt Lake City many years ago, and the Mormons tried to get me to convert. But what's that?
It's different. It's different. The Mormon faith, the women, there's a certain hierarchy in the Mormon faith.
Right.
When you get outside of that faith, it's different. You know how it is just dealing with one wife. Now, why would you want to have 2?
I'm just trying to make light of it and joke around about it, Mel, just so you know that. All I can tell you is when I was there. What's that?
I said, I understand.
I was in Salt Lake City, and all I know is downtown I got free parking. That was good enough. So if the Mormons want to go out there and give me their pitch, that's fine. It was good. Got the free parking. Got to see a couple Jazz games and a hockey game at the Salt Palace. And it was an interesting few days out in Utah. But yeah, and I'm kidding with you. The Mormon religion versus Lou Williams, who I guess I can utilize the analogy loosely, I will call him a moron, okay? Shame on you, Lou. Don't do it again. Okay, remember, there's a bubble and a championship to be had. Whatever you want to do later on after you're done playing, that's fine, but don't do it now. You're putting a lot of people at risk. So, with that said, anything else?
Trying to sabotage the Lakers' chance to win a championship this year.
Well, that's true. The window could be closing on a few of those players, that's for sure. Anything else you want to add about the NBA return, Xavier?
Yes, I just want to say that I'm in agreement with Mel here. It was definitely a selfish act, and you apologize for it, you own up to it, and we move on from it. Because, as he said with the championship window here, it should really be noted that the Lakers have been down in the bubble, and they have really been focused on this thing the entire time. LeBron James has that team ready to go. They all have laser beam focus right now. And it just seems like the Clippers have some cracks into their armor right now. And you don't want to exactly have that going on right now when you're getting ready to go into a playoff series and a playoff matchup, and you will be facing teams like Lakers and the Houston Rockets and the Denver Nuggets and some of the other great teams out west.
All right. Is that it for the NBA? I got 2 other subjects I want to make sure we have time to get to.
Yes, that's all I have to say.
What's that?
No, go right ahead.
All right. Well, let's talk about the New England Patriots. They have a large amount of opt-outs. Will they contend with the cupboard becoming more bare by the minute? And don't worry, it just became reported now that the Buffalo Bills have sent some rookies home after five positive COVID tests. I don't want to talk about the Bills situation. We'll just keep it limited to the Patriots. But those opt-outs are piling by the minute in New England. Mel, you can lead off with this one.
Yeah, I mean, that just shows you how seriously these guys are thinking about it. I look at Dante Hightower, who decided to opt out, and his rationale behind it is, he's concerned about his family. He's got a newborn at the house, and obviously he's very concerned about his family and the NFL's ability to keep him safe. That's basically what he's saying. And it's not just the NFL, really. I mean, it's what we've done. It's been our response to keep our citizens safe. It's had a trickle-down effect to everybody else, where everybody else has to make a decision. Now, the NFL decided they were going to play this year, but they also have given players the option, whether it be because of medical reasons to opt out or the personal reasons to opt out, and they're going to, they can be compensated for opting out. So, it's not the same kind of money they would make playing, but it's something, and it's something that, the NFL, I guess I guess they have to do it because of the PA, but, a lot of players are looking at this big picture line, and, would feel terrible if something were to happen because, like we talked about before, I mean, this virus, people are asymptomatic to losing their lives and everything in between, where body parts, things of that nature, have to have organ transplants. I mean, there's so many different things that happen with this virus. And, even though most people do recover, you don't want to be that one person who infected somebody and something tragic happens. But these guys are being prudent and, taking advantage of what the PA was able to negotiate for them and doing what they feel is best for themselves and best for their family.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, the New England Patriots have had a lot of roster turnover to begin with. Tom Brady's gone. Rob Gronkowski was gone last year. Of course, now he's with Tampa Bay. And, they're losing a lot of players. And, will the cupboard be bare? I don't know. I know Cam Newton's hungry, so I think Cam is on a mission to prove that he may have taken a little bit less money, but at least he has a chip on his shoulder. So I got to tell you, I am pulling for Cam Newton for sure to do well, but the question is, who will he be throwing to? Who will be running the football? And what will he have is another story. What about you, Xavier?
Well, here's what the first thing I'm going to say in all of this is for the players who have opted out, I applaud them for making this decision, and I applaud them because they are putting their families and they are putting others ahead of their wants and their desires. I'm not going to necessarily say their needs because some of these players do not necessarily need the money. And as far as NFL accolades go, they don't necessarily need that either. Some of them do not. In the case of Dante Hightower, he's made a lot of money throughout his career, and he's been a part of 3 Super Bowl winning teams in New England. But I applaud them for being aware of everything that is going on right now and just being cautious. Because here's one thing I just want to go ahead and say for everyone right now, and Scott and Mel, but especially you, Scott, I know you can appreciate what I'm about to say.
Sure.
This thing is real, and the death toll is real, and you can say what you want to say about this. For those of you out there who are calling this a hoax, and you're calling this a fake virus, and you're calling it all these other things, go tell that to these 150,000 plus people who have lost friends and family members due to this virus. Go look those people in the eye and tell them that this is fake. Tell them that this is a hoax. Tell this to the healthcare workers who have to tend to these people who are coming in constantly day in and day out who have contracted this virus. Tell that to the people who have had to deal with losing a loved one and not even being able to be in the room while this transition is taking place because of the precautions that we've had to take through with COVID-19. Scott and I live in the state of Florida.
Right.
And the COVID death toll numbers in the past 2 days, there is nothing encouraging about it at all. Losing a life, period, to any disease, any virus, or anything is already sad enough as it is. On Wednesday, we reported that Florida had 216 COVID cases. That was then the state high. This morning it came out that Florida had 253 COVID-19 related deaths in a single day. That was the update this morning. So that puts Florida a little over 6,500 COVID deaths that have happened since this pandemic has started. Don't come to me and tell me that this is a hoax. Don't tell me that this is fake. I am sitting here watching people be impacted day in and day out by this disease. And just some of the people out there, you need to be extra cautious. And honestly, you need to just be a better human about this entire situation right now. And you need to use some common sense. Some things are better left unsaid. That's what I'm going to say about that as far as that goes for now. Before I move on into further on with this thing, Scott, do you have anything you want to add?
Well, you took the words out of my mouth, my friend. You definitely did. Takes a lot to do that. Listen, you know what, Mel and Xavier? Don't you think the three of us have better things to talk about than COVID-19? Mel, I got to tell you, my friend, you've been one big trooper if I've ever seen, that we come on week in and week out talking about this virus, yet nothing gets done. Xavier, we've had it on our shows, okay? Take this stupid thing seriously, all right? You know, it's bad enough we've had to deal with other issues such as the Black Lives Matter, which we have to deal with because it's a certain way of life. But I would think that during better circumstances, Mel and Xavier, would you agree? We got better things to talk about, don't you guys think?
Of course.
What about you, Mel? Mel?
We're starting to get some things to talk about with the league starting up. You know, baseball starting up, football training camps. We got basketball on TV now, so I mean, we're starting to get some things to talk about other than COVID. Like I was telling you guys, you know, before we went on air, you know, last week my daughter got diagnosed. My oldest daughter got diagnosed with COVID. So, you know, she's in that, you know, she's, 30, 31, I think it is. So, I mean, she's in that group where she, you know, she'll probably more likely be okay. I mean, so far, everything's been good. I mean, as a matter of fact, you know, prior to her finding out that she had it, you know, she was like, oh, I just think it's a cold. You know, the doctor just thinks it's a cold. But once she found out she had it, then, you know, she's like, oh, I'm just tired and this. I'm like, no. You know, just act like you don't have it. Act like you never heard it. Continue to do the things that you've been doing. Because that's what this thing wants you to do. It wants you to lay down. You got to keep moving, you know.
Right.
So, you know, I've been encouraging her in that way, so that, you know, she can go ahead and recover from this.
Right.
And, you know, thank God, you know, everything is pointing in the right direction. But this is a very, very serious disease. And like Xavier says, you know, if you don't think it's serious, go out there and say, you know, say that to those 150,000 families that have lost a loved one. I know people who have passed because of COVID.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I know people personally who have passed because of this. And, you know, this thing is real. It's as real can be. You know, when it first came out, I was a little cavalier about wearing a mask. I was washing my hands thoroughly because that's what they said to do. I was washing my hands, had hand sanitizer, disinfectant wipes and all that, but I wasn't really wearing the mask because they were saying, don't wear the mask. Mask doesn't help. Well, even when they started saying, well, you should probably wear a mask or something like that, I wasn't always wearing my mask. But now, anytime I leave the house, I have a mask on.
Right.
I don't leave out of here without a mask on because it's that serious. And I feel the mask protects me. I'm doing this for me.
Right.
So the next guy may not wear a mask. I'm wearing a mask for myself. They say, you know, you wear a mask to protect somebody else. I'm wearing a mask to protect me. That's what I'm wearing a mask for.
Well, the bottom line is the bottom line is, I think we've done a good job, Mel and Xavier, with what we've had to work with. You know what I'm saying, Mel? It's not that we don't have things to talk about. It is good that there's a restart, but the question is will we see a finish to some of these sports? And as we've said throughout the broadcast, okay, to me, I think the NFL still is in trouble. I really do. Why they're playing it when you have more players, okay, than you have MLB and you're having problems. You know, so we have no idea what we're getting into. We really don't, you know, but the fact of the matter is sports is a tough cover this year because of all the extracurricular circumstances that we've never had to deal with before.
Well, I think what they're doing is you're not having any preseason games. So I think, you know, they're kicking the can down the road as far as they can. If they're going to have illnesses, they want to have it in training camp.
Right.
So people can resolve, they can get healthy, and they can have their season. I think that's what they're gambling on. I think that's what they're banking on.
Right.
But if they have illnesses, it's going to happen during training camp. They're able to quarantine these people at that particular time and get them healthy so that if they have immunity, they don't have to worry about getting reinfected. You just have to worry about the people who haven't had the virus. And I think that probably plays a little bit into why they don't have it, why they're not having any preseason games, and why they're just kicking their can as far down the road as they possibly can.
And I've said this all along, Xavier. You're right. The fact that we're both Florida residents, for me to leave the state of Florida to go back to Michigan to visit my ailing mother would put her at great risk. Although I got to tell you, I don't go anywhere. All I go is shopping once a week. I come back and forth to the studio. Maybe once in a while I'll, if I get a chance to go to a restaurant where there's practically no people, but I don't get out anywhere. And Mel, you're right. Okay. For crying out loud, it's so easy to wear a mask and avoid problems. Why leave yourself wide open to endanger yourself, let alone anybody else? So I'm with you all the way. I do wear a mask, and I've had a lot of medical issues in the past, but if I can get through a year with very few of them, and arguably the most difficult year possible with COVID-19, so be it. We got one more subject I want to get to, okay, and that's this. Aaron Rodgers sees time with the Packers running out. Just look at the facts. He says Jordan Love for you, and we all know that Rodgers signed a 4-year deal worth $134 million extension through 2023. So let's talk about the fact that we know that Aaron Rodgers' days are numbered. Where do you think would be a logical landing spot for Aaron Rodgers should he leave before his contract is up in Green Bay? Who wants to lead off?
Well, he could reunite, I guess, with his old coach down in Dallas, since they haven't made a decision on Dak Prescott at this point. Okay. It's going to be very expensive for Dallas to keep him, Dak Prescott. That could be a possibility. This depends on, how long it's going to take, the quarterback that they drafted to get ready. So, I think that's a possibility for him, just off the top of my head, that makes logical sense. Obviously, they're familiar with one another, and, even though things may not have ended well, I think that time heals all wounds. LeBron James went back to Cleveland after Dan Gilbert said what he said about him, and they kind of patched things up a little bit, and enough where they could tolerate one another. So I think that might be a possible landing spot for him.
That's interesting. I like that one, Mel. What about you, Xavier?
Well, for me, I'm going to say the San Francisco 49ers. I don't believe the organization is all the way sold in on Jimmy Garoppolo. We heard rumors all throughout the offseason that there were some people in the building who may have been interested in Tom Brady possibly coming in and replacing Jimmy Garoppolo. So I believe this is going to be a make or break year for Jimmy Garoppolo there. And if Aaron Rodgers does hit the market pretty soon and there's some interest there, you don't believe the San Francisco 49ers would be interested in Aaron Rodgers in the ways that they were interested in Tom Brady. I definitely believe we could see Aaron Rodgers end it playing in the Bay Area, a team that he wanted to be drafted by in 2005 when they had the number 1 overall pick, and they chose to select Alex Smith with that pick. And it should be noted that Aaron Rodgers grew up a San Francisco 49ers fan and was born and raised in California. So it would really be one heck of a homecoming and one heck of an end to a career if that does happen.
Now I'm going to throw a team out there that'll really get your heads to shake. You ready for this one? This will even shake my wife's head. I say there's a chance he can end up with the Chicago Bears, just like Favre did when he ended up ultimately going to the Minnesota Vikings and being able to play the Packers twice a year. Even though they've got Foles there, don't worry. If an opportunity comes to the Bears to go ahead and sign Aaron Rodgers, that would be my best bet. What do you guys think of that?
It's not surprising.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Xavier.
It's not surprising to me at all that you said the Chicago Bears, just simply for the fact that they have really good weapons over there on the wide receivers. They have good tight ends there. They have a nice set of running backs there. They have a decent offensive line when everyone's healthy. I love their defense being led by Khalil Mack. They'll more than likely get Eddie Goldman back next year, as long as COVID-19 is not necessarily still a thing when this is going on. We don't know that for a fact. They have Eddie Jackson, who is one of the best safeties in the NFL there. But Matt Nagy in particular is what already tells me that it would pique some interest from Aaron Rodgers. We saw Brett Favre go from the Packers to the Jets to the Vikings, and he wanted to go from the Packers directly to the Vikings. But, of course, the Packers didn't want to complete that trade. And if I really had to be a betting man on this, I would say offensively as a play caller, Matt Nagy is a lot better in that department to me than Brad Childress was when he was the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings. So I believe that's actually a nice landing spot potentially for Aaron Rodgers if he is coming towards the end in Green Bay.
Well, won't have to worry about cold weather. He's used to playing for it up in Green Bay. All you have is Lake Michigan. I'm sorry, what were your thoughts about this one, Mel?
No, I mean, that makes sense. I mean, listen to Xavier, and, that makes all the sense in the world. Plus, on top of all that, you get to play the Packers twice.
Oh, yeah.
So, that makes plenty of sense, to be honest with you. I mean, when Brett Favre decided to go, he wanted to go to Minnesota. Minnesota thought they were a quarterback away because they had Adrian Peterson.
Right.
And, it was just Adrian Peterson right, Adrian Peterson left. They didn't have a competent quarterback. Well, Chicago has, they don't have a quarterback. You can say what you want to say about Mitchell Trubisky. He just has not got the job done. And it's obviously obvious that they've given up on him. And that makes all the sense in the world.
Well, I'll tell you what. When I think of the three teams that each of us came up with, okay, Mel, I like your logic about being reunited with Mike McCarthy and with the Dak Prescott situation up in limbo. Xavier, I like yours because the San Francisco area is where he wanted to go in the first place. And then mine, I've thought about it a lot and think, why not stick it to your old team twice, knowing full well that, again, 2023, you're only talking like 2 or 3 years away. It's not that far out. And I think Aaron Rodgers would not mind sticking it to the Packers twice, and he knows the lay of the land in the NFC North. So I think all of us have good points all the way around. So, guys, what a great broadcast we had tonight. I love the continuity that we have, all three of us together. You guys, to me, are dynamite. I can't say enough good things about the two of you. So with that said,
Scott, there's 2 points I want to add to this before we do close off, because I know we do have to close off.
Sure.
One is some breaking news that we just received out of the MLB. The Angels have placed Mike Trout on the paternity list because his first child is expected to be on the way. So even when he is eligible to return, he will have to quarantine for a certain amount of days before he can return to the team. And by this child now being here, now this raises the question of if Mike Trout will even want to return to gameplay. Because remember, it was reported that he was one of the players who was on the fringe about not even wanting to coming back to play due to the concerns of COVID-19. And by his first child now being here, will he want to take the risk of going back out there to play and possibly put his child and his child's mother, his fiance or his wife, at risk of this thing?
Well, I think his decision's a lot easier as he sees the trends and the patterns of all these COVID tests in MLB. So that's clarifying things that what he was thinking about doing could indeed become a reality. And was there another piece of breaking news that Xavier wanted to throw out at us?
Well, it's not exactly breaking news. It's back to just another COVID-19 point that I didn't get to touch on that I'd just like to touch on really quickly. And this one goes to the people who are not necessarily taking this thing seriously and not wearing masks. Herman Cain passed away this morning at the age of 74, the former presidential candidate and the founder of Godfather's Pizza. The last time that he was in the public spotlight before contracting this virus, he was in Tulsa, Oklahoma at a Trump rally, and he was reportedly not wearing a mask. And he had been out there reportedly spouting the message, or at least it had been coming off his Twitter account, that wearing the mask is a little overplayed and people are tired of being told of wearing a mask. And now, unfortunately, we are here where he had been struggling with this virus for a little over a month, and this morning he succumbed to the virus. So it's a very sad situation, something that did not have to take place. But once again, ladies and gentlemen, mask up, use your common sense, and take the proper precautions. And we send our best, our thoughts, and our prayers to Herman Cain's family during this time. Because it should be noted that he had some health issues over the years, too. But this is something that just did not necessarily have to happen.
Well, for that matter, we might as well give kudos to the frontline heroes, the doctors and the nurses that risk their lives all the time, right, Mel? Because I'll tell you what, they're right in harm's way all the time. So, good stuff. I'm glad we covered it. What's that?
No, I said no question about it. Yeah, I mean, they're doing heroic work.
All right. Well, with that said, Mel Farr, why don't you go ahead and let everybody know how they can get a hold of you?
On all the social media accounts, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn at Mel Farr Jr., email melfarjr@gmail.com. And you can follow us in what we do at melfarr.org.
Very good. And, of course, we know that Mel Farr joins us every Thursday night here on the Sports Exchange. We love having Mel. Does a phenomenal job every week, and glad to have him here as well. So, all right, Xavier McKnight, go ahead.
All right, you can follow me on Twitter at XTMCKNIGHII. The two I's at the end are capitalized. You can follow me on Instagram at XMCKNIGH22. You can send me a friend request and a follow request on Facebook and LinkedIn simply by typing in Xavier McKnight. And you can also listen to me more here on this network every other Friday night. We'll be back next Friday night with The Real and the Rare.
Very good. And let everybody know, just so you know, that this broadcast is being heard on Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Google Podcasts. If I talk too fast, I'll say it again. You can catch this broadcast here on Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, and you can access it through www.southfloridatribune.com, as well as you can also find all of our content as well from our contributing writers as well as our affiliates. And if you want to get a hold of us, you can do so at Tribune South. That's my Twitter account. Facebook, you can find us on South Florida Tribune. Instagram, South Florida Tribune. My YouTube channel is South Florida Tribune as well. Hope to get more involved with that. Right now, I'm not taking any chances, although Xavier McKnight and I may try to see if we can tackle this. If not on the next Reel in the Rear, we're going to certainly try to get that going. And again, let me reiterate the website one more time, www.southfloridatribune.com. You can email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. And if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, feel free to do so at Scott Morganross. So, folks, on behalf of Mel Farr Jr. and Xavier McKnight, we want to thank you for joining us here on the Sports Exchange. And Xavier McKnight, going to keep him busy next week. And Mel, we love doing this every week with you. So, guys, you did a phenomenal job. And you guys be safe and have a great weekend, all right? And be safe, okay?
All right, you do the same.
All right, for sure.
Thanks.
And you do the same.